We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip. When it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Okay, so yesterday, March 18th, 2025, a huge batch of documents was released related to the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah, about 80,000 pages worth.
80,000 pages.
Hit the National Archives.
Wow.
Yeah, it's building on, the push for transparency around what happened back in Dallas on November 22nd, 1963.
Right, and we all know the basic story. President Kennedy was killed. Lee Harvey Oswald was named as the lone assassin by the Warren Commission, but was then himself killed by Jack Ruby. And despite the official finding that Oswald acted alone, the debates continue.
Oh yeah, they've raged for decades.
So for you listening today, we are going to do a deep dive into these newly released files and try to pull out the most important parts.
Yeah, extract what's really significant for understanding this event.
So what kind of insights are these documents actually giving us?
Well, one key area is the CIA's surveillance of Lee Harvey Oswald when he was in Mexico City, just weeks before the assassination.
Oh, wow. So this is getting into like spy thriller territory.
Exactly. The files detail his interactions with Soviet and Cuban officials, and that raises questions about potential foreign connections that the Warren Commission really downplayed.
Yeah, the Mexico City angle has always been a point of major speculation for researchers.
Absolutely.
What else are these files revealing?
Well, we're also seeing FBI communications that actually predate the assassination.
Oh, wow.
These records hint at what the Bureau knew about potential threats to President Kennedy before that fateful trip to Dallas.
So this is about their pre-assassination intelligence.
Right. And we're also seeing information about their subsequent investigation into Oswald's background.
So the question becomes, did they know anything beforehand that could have prevented this tragedy?
Yeah, that's the central issue for a lot of researchers. What did the FBI know and when did they know it?
Right, and what about all the theories about KGB involvement?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
These files include an actual KGB assessment.
Oh.
A KGB official who reviewed their files on Oswald concluded that he was not a KGB agent. This really challenges some of those long-held conspiracy theories.
Directly contradicts them.
Yeah, it provides a strong counter-narrative.
Do these documents help us understand the broader context of this event a little better?
Definitely. They shed light on all the intense espionage activities that were happening during the Cold War.
Oh, right. This is a time of really heightened global tension.
Absolutely. And understanding that backdrop is so crucial for interpreting the events surrounding the assassination, even if you believe that Oswald acted alone.
Makes sense.
It really heats the stage.
So if one of our listeners wants to go explore these 80,000 pages for themselves, how can they do that?
Well, the key is the National Archives and Records Administration, or NARA.
Okay.
These files are accessible to the public online through their website, and you can even view them in person at their facility in College Park, Maryland.
Wow, so the information is right there at your fingertips.
Exactly.
So what's been the initial reaction to these files from historians and researchers?
They've been anticipating this release for a long time.
Right.
I think it's fair to say the initial reaction is one of cautious optimism. A good example is Jefferson Morley. He sees this as a positive step towards transparency, but he also notes that many questions remain unanswered.
Yeah, just having more information doesn't necessarily mean we have all the answers.
Exactly. There's a recognition that this is a significant development, but it might not be the ultimate solution.
So it sounds like even with this massive release, the story of the Kennedy assassination isn't over.
That's right. And some researchers are already suggesting that there are still files being withheld or that some of the release files have been heavily redacted.
Right.
It's going to take time to analyze this volume of material, so our understanding will likely continue to evolve.
So to sum up what we've learned, this release gives us much deeper insight into the CIA's surveillance of Oswald in Mexico City, what the FBI knew prior to the assassination, the KGB's assessment that Oswald was not their agent, and the intense atmosphere of Cold War espionage that surrounded this event.
That's a great summary. It really is a substantial addition to the historical record.
And while we now have a much greater level of detail, it seems that definitive answers might still be out of reach, and continued analysis of these files is really crucial.
Absolutely.
So here's something I want you to consider. How might those global tensions of the Cold War with its climate of suspicion and covert operations have influenced the events surrounding President Kennedy's assassination? And after everything we've talked about today, what unanswered questions stand out most to you?
Yeah, what are you left wondering about?
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we hope you'll continue to explore this complex and fascinating historical event with us.
See you next time.